It was online.
I want to call the meeting to order, please. Welcome, everyone, and we will start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Is Niffy on?
Not that I can see as of yet, okay.
Niffy is ill and gonna zoom in, so we're gonna give him a minute to where I call the roll.
Well, maybe we can take this time to.
Oh, okay. How about while we're waiting? Let me know when you've got him. You don't- It's not coming up. Wanna call him?
Don't have his number.
He knows how.
How about you?
Roll call one, get started.
What?
He knows how to call in.
No, I know, there's an issue maybe with Zoom.
Right, he knows how to go.
Right.
Get the roll call going, let's get started. I agree.
Let me know when he joins us. Go ahead, Steve,
Here.
Dave,
Here.
Meredith,
Here.
and I'm here and we're waiting on Niffy. Are there any additions or deletions to the agenda?
Yes, there is.
Who said that?
I did.
Okay, go ahead, Dave.
Station. A resolution to table impact fees discussion. Yeah, resolution to table impact fee.
Yes, we tabled the discussion of impact fees at the last meeting. So we would have to have a motion to untable it to discuss it at this meeting. Well, we have to
I
wait.
second Dave's motion on table the impact fee.
Okay. Well, let's wait till Niffy joins us because otherwise we won't have we'll have a 2-2, dear.
Discussion for Mr. Creech's job description.
That's between you and Kyle. That's
He's doing our books. He's under us.
he's a bookkeeper.
He's doing the books for the district, right?
How do you want to put it?
Job description for Mr. Creech.
Okay, and what part of bookkeeper do you not understand?
Job description for Mr. Creech.
That's gonna be under new business. And we'll put it,
And I did ask for this stuff to be put on the agenda prior to the meeting.
and I told you he's operations, so it really wasn't appropriate to be discussing.
It is.
I agree with Dave very much.
Okay, what number would you like it? You want it under new business, correct?
That's
I'm gonna add it 6.5. Anything else?
that's all.
I have something, but I have to make it clear first. Is 4.2 information on radios? Is that, what information on radios would that be?
That was Dave's suggestion.
So we don't know.
We don't
Okay.
know.
Just wanted to make sure that it didn't have some other
No.
context.
That's why he's listed as the presenter.
Okay.
I have one thing, which
You
is
got
that
Niffy?
the presenter for 6.3 is in the wrong place. It should be Dave's presentation, 6.3 plowing at station 83.
Trimmer.
Yeah, I had it on the wrong line.
Okay.
That's all.
All right. You tried to call him?
I just texted him.
Would you wait for me if I was doing this? I don't. think-
Absolutely. Of course we would, Steve. If you were scheduled to call in, if you hadn't said you were going to miss the meeting, of course we would wait for you.
I don't exactly believe that's true, but okay, I hear what you're saying, but I don't agree. So how long do we wait?
We're gonna go on with the treasurer's report. Oh, well, he's the treasurer, so we can't. Let's skip that and go to the chief's. Oh, he's there?
No, you can go to me though.
I'm sorry.
You can go to me if you want. to.
Okay, we'll go to chief's report.
Okay.
Don't you need to approve the minutes?
Well, that's difficult to do.
There's 4 of us here. We got quorum.
We have a quorum.
We have a quorum.
We can approve the minutes. We can try to approve the minutes.
Oh, I missed that. I'm sorry. Approval of the January 25th meeting minutes. Looking for a motion,
I move that we approve the January 25th meeting minutes.
and I second that.
Discussion?
We can have
You
a
want
discussion.
discussion? Go
There's
ahead.
too many things missing for me to approve. There's a lot going on that was not listed in the minutes, so I'll have a hard time approving it because I believe the
Okay.
minutes are insufficient.
You're aware that it was recorded. The whole meeting was recorded. Every word was recorded.
I've always said the same thing in regards to the written
Okay.
minutes versus reported.
Mhm.
That
I
it?
agree.
Okay, that it? I'll call the vote. All in favor of approving the minutes? Aye.
Aye.
All
Nay.
opposed?
Nay.
Okay, nothing passes. Okay. Still no Niffy.
Nope.
Chief's report.
Sure, okay. So, and there's a few additions that are beyond the written report that I'm gonna go in as we kind of, they fit appropriately in here. So we're continuing to work as a Mountain Chiefs group towards finalizing an all hazards and wildland agreement with Jefferson County Emergency Management. That's plugging along nicely, and hopefully that brings us all into the same page as a county and amongst all the smaller fire districts in the mountains is kind of our operating modes countywide. So we're making good strides on that. It's gonna be a huge accomplishment for all the districts in this area together as we move forward with the county. Chief Enright continues to work with our response partners on reviewing all of our mutual aid and automatic aid agreements. Most of the agreements are going to be remaining unchanged. If any changes are going to occur as we finalize the last few of them, they'll be brought to the board for approval. The other big thing that we participated in regionally was this week. I met with a group, including Congresswoman Pedersen, who is the federal Congressman Pedersen from I think she's District 7, talking about wildland fire, firefighting, fire mitigation, along with a bunch of other stakeholders from the counties, from the state. And we really talked heavily about the idea of trying to allocate more federal funds that have come from the Federal Wildland Fire Commission down to the local level and how to make it more efficient. So we are getting more federal funds trickled down to small districts that can execute on projects, or the ones that are actually out doing the wildland firefighting, and looking to try to find some more efficiencies in that, and sent our representative back with kind of that charge as a pretty much unanimous voice from this area, that we really want to see more of the federal funds come down to the local governments and then the local fire districts.
Did you talk to her about the feds lowering the amount of regulations they have on thinning out forests?
We did not talk about any regulations. It was pretty much basically just around the funding mechanisms that come down for wildland firefighting and mitigation through the Forest Service. So I thought there was no real talk about policy, I would say, other than the funding mechanisms. Yeah, I think I'd be interested in hearing your opinions on that if you want some of that brought back up in the next meetings that we have. So that was that this week. I think it was a productive meeting. Administration wise, we're continuing to work on the ESO implementation project.
Which project?
ESO implementation,
What's that stand for?
Emergency Services Operations. It's the online, it's basically the digital platform that we're moving to.
It's the radios.
No, not radios. ESO is the digital software. That
Okay,
we're
I know
moving
what
to.
you're referring to.
Yep. So we're working on the implementation and switch over from emergency reporting to ESO with them, and we're on track for full implementation or switch over from emergency reporting to ESO by April, hopefully the end of April at this point. So we're moving along with that. That's going to bring us a lot of efficiency. And I know that Chief Enright's very excited for that from the operational perspective.
What was the cost per year of the ESO program? Software,
Exactly. We can go
No,
back and
approximately.
for this year, I believe it was just less than $5,000.
But then it goes up, right? It's about 8,000 or 9,000?
No, it goes up a little bit and then it comes back down actually after next year. It wavers a little bit, but it's not going to change very much as we move for the next 5 years. If you want to, Steve, I can pull up the exact contract, but it's a lot less than we originally had thought it was going to be.
Because I remember when Chris Enright was
Yes.
discussing it and we were like, wow, $8,000 seemed like a lot back then.
And that's when we came back and talked with that rep and they came back with a secondary quote afterwards and it was a lot less.
That's
I remember that initial conversation where we talked about that.
good.
So that's good. And we're starting to move forward with that. The website project, which just so we all know, the district is not paying anything for our website update project as we move over to the state. Firefighter Elena Clar has stepped up to kind of bring that project across the finish line. It's drawn out much farther than I would have liked. And she's using her digital design background and website development to do all the creative portions of the new website. And she's definitely plugging along pretty quickly with that. I was hoping to have it for this meeting to be able to show the public. It's just not quite at that state yet.
So it hasn't been launched yet.
The new website?
Yeah.
No.
Because it didn't look different to me.
No, it's not. So it's a completely different, it'll look completely different from what we do now, and it'll be a .gov as far as a URL.
Do you need any historic pictures?
The historic pictures, so we will do historic pictures that are currently on the website now. And we'll move those over. And if we need more historic pictures, we'll go out. Anyone who has historic pictures, that'd be awesome.
I believe I have a copy of the website for a long time back before Danny changed it. There's a lot of pictures of like Garrett and other historic firefighters up here that we used to be on the website 8 years ago.
That would be awesome.
I think I have that.
That would be super cool.
Because I used to be in charge of the website. It's fun.
So you have like digital copies of all of them.
I haven't checked. It's been a while.
That would be really cool if we could do like a historical section.
I have old computers. I have to look.
Okay, yes, when you have time, that would be a really cool.
Great to meet you.
Yeah, I think it'd be a really as a website in general, it'd be a good way to dedicate, a portion of our current website to those who kind of come before us. And I think that would be a really cool thing. So that's a great idea.
Like an archive.
Yeah, like a website archive. Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you, Steve. I appreciate that.
Sure, I'll try to find that.
Okay. The fuel agreement with Jefferson County has been executed. During the process, when we switched over to Jefferson County or switching over to Jefferson County, we realized that the district needed a separate fuel tax exemption permit. So in 2017, there was a Department of Revenue change where we needed a different fuel tax or a different tax exemption separate from the one the district has longstanding for sales tax. So we worked with the State Department of Revenue and I've now been issued that permit. Which will allow the district to be tax exempt on all fuel purchases moving forward into the future. So just trying to make sure that we don't have any double taxation within the fire district. It's a big thing that we're trying to eliminate completely. Operations, the district has hit our seasonal lull. So we've only had 12 calls to date as of the submission. We have several significant weather events since the beginning of the year that caused many vehicle traffic accidents. The one thing I think a lot of people in the district are aware that I-70 ski traffic, specifically that's being routed to the northern suburbs of Denver and Boulder, is being routed off of I-70 during large events where I-70 gets closed and it's coming through the canyon, up and over Douglas Mountain, or up and over through Central City Parkway and then down Golden Gate Canyon. We've kind of tapped through a bunch of different resources about what we can do to try to prevent that rerouting, based off of the data pools that Google and Apple, which are the two main, and Waze, which are the main mapping sources for people in Denver metro area, trying to get into their actual data sets that they pull for their mapping and have them change it has been really difficult to even figure out who to talk to. So I know there was a bunch of communication amongst people within the district after that happened. It happened twice in about 2 weeks. Talking about different alternatives, whether we look at trying to do alternative signage on Douglas Mountain for people who are not familiar with the road, talking about its dangers when it's snowy, needing chains, or anything else that we have as far as safety messaging. If anybody in the district has good ideas with that, I would love to hear them. So we're just looking at alternative options at this point to try to keep that safe and decrease those events from happening within the district. Because there was one particular event the second or third week of January where we had over 40 cars, I think, between Douglas Mountain and the top and the bottom of Robinson Hill Road that had slid off or spun off. So we want to make sure that we're preventing that from happening. I think there's just a lot of people driving up here who aren't familiar with our roads.
Seems like a $300 or $500 sign that's truly alarming and to the point might make some people think twice.
That's my thought, just at the bottom of Douglas Mountain.
Right.
I mean, I think that's kind of the thing that we've all communally talked about. And I think going to Road and Bridge and talking about what that would look like.
Trying to
Well,
get
that says
county-
if you don't have real snow tires or chains or
Yeah.
studs.
And we did have a conversation with Road and Bridge after that event. And they did commit to try to work on making sure we get a plow up there sooner on the Douglas Mountain itself, on Douglas Mountain Road. We'll see. I know they're stretched thin.
They salted the shit out of that road the next snowstorm.
They did.
Yeah.
Did it help?
Yeah, they did.
Ridiculous.
Was it helpful though? Or did it
Not
too
all
much?
things go around.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, but do you feel like did the plowing, I know you go in and out that way, did it help? Did it feel like any of the other extra attention helps getting in and out
Too much,
too much? All
too
right,
much,
Too much salt?
too much salt.
I hear you.
Too much salt. What they put down is salt. They don't put sand down. It's salt. Yes. It's called dirty salt. And they mine it out of Utah. And it's salt. It's like 90% salt with a tiny little bit of sand particles in it. Because we can't contribute to the Denver brown cloud, so everything is salt now.
Sand.
Really?
Sand.
It's all salt.
Okay.
so I
I
think
got some fancy name for it, but it's just dirty salt.
just in general, I think we need to find a way to try to prevent that from happening.
The sign
You think so?
might make, well, I think people, if they don't have, you should say all seasons tires are not good enough.
Yeah, and I think that's really the problem. Is people are coming up with just whatever that's on their. So yeah, looking through that, I just want the people in the public to know that we are aware of this issue and we're trying to do what we can into making the road safer.
You don't plow it and people won't drive on it.
I don't know, because they're gonna follow what Google tells them to do. I don't know, like, because that was definitely not plowed that day.
But this isn't all a problem. This has been going on since Damien was here.
Well, and I remember someone saying that there was, Damien had gone and done was successful with some kind of change within Google.
Tried, he said he
Not
did.
with Waze and
I mean,
Apple.
to at least to my observation, it seems like something maybe has changed or that deletion has gone away. So I don't know what's happening there, but it's not, I think we gotta figure out something different.
They're far away from here.
Yeah.
They don't care that much.
Right. Operational, we currently have 21 operational members. 2 of them are on leave of absence. So 23 firefighters, 4 support services members. Training, the Firefighter 1 Academy continues their exceptional progress. They've gone through 3 long practical days and many shorter practice sessions, 1 or 2 times a week. Roughly 50% of their didactic portion is completed and they're all passing. The practical days are now moving to Clear Creek Fire Authority's training center as of March as we move into live fire training with them. So we are very thankful to Clear Creek Fire Training or Fire Authority for letting us use their training center. At this pretty much at free of cost for us to go up there, and also to DFPC for helping us make that connection. Chris Enright, Chief Enright, has completed his firefighter type 1, also known as a squad boss task force. So as of last week, the district has our first or our newly qualified squad boss and incident commander type 5. It's a multi-year accomplishment for him, and I want to make a really big shout out to you for helping us make that happen with the burn files. So that was a big thank you for helping us with that.
Yeah, no idea that it was important there.
Yeah, so it was the last thing he needed to get across the line. So we now have him as a squad boss for the district. Firefighter Drew Canyon is currently in IV training through, I believe, Red Rocks. Firefighter Nick Meyer continues to do very, very well in Red Rocks Community College EMT school. Probationary firefighter Chris Creech is now enrolled in a hybrid EMT program that is between the University of Colorado and Denver Health. Lieutenant Gokul recently completed that program, and both of them are going to be going through their skills testing for certification in the spring. I currently, as of this week, have attended a 5-day NREMT paramedic recertification through Denver Health EMS to make sure that we're keeping up the latest practices within EMS. It's basically 5 mini days of paramedic school with kind of updates of everything that happened to emergency medicine in the last couple of years. And it also allows me to recertify my paramedic licensure. Next week, Chief Enright and myself are attending a 3-day with S215 fire operations in the wildland urban interface course at Evergreen Fire Rescue. It's a very highly applicable course to the way that we operate in wildland fire here in this fire district. And we hope to continue to send firefighters through this program in the future as it, of course, becomes more available. Station 81 projects. Station 81, if you guys have been over that, is now well underway. Demolition process was a great success. Not only were we very efficient with our demolition, but it also allowed us to get some really good real world training for our firefighters during that day. During that process, we found some unfortunate surprises with extensive mouse damage to insulation. If you've been inside of the station, I think that's probably not a huge surprise. We were able to mitigate all of the insulation damage and drywall damage from the mice and have it repaired. We also believe we've stymied that problem for the time being, but we may need to look at doing a longer term mouse abatement solution after the remodel is complete, as it's a continual problem with that station particularly. It's a problem everywhere up here, but that area for some reason seems to be pretty badly plagued with mice. So we need to, after we're done with the, putting this investment into Station 81, making sure that we're keeping it up and making sure that it's not being damaged again by mice moving forward. Let's see here. Currently, the stage that we're at, we're completing drywall repair, which is now done, and the bathroom remodel. Moving on to our next phase, repainting the interior of the station should happen next week, by the end of next week or the beginning of the week after. We're on track to complete the remodel completely and reoccupy the quarters or living quarters of Station 81 by the end of April. Huge thank you to everybody who has volunteered to assist with this project so far. We have had from the volunteer firefighters to people in the community who showed up to help and done drywall and helped us do plumbing and helped us do all kinds of stuff. I really appreciate all those that have showed up, or even those who have talked about being able to lend a hand and are waiting in reserves for us to need their services. So thank you to them. I think as far as the horizons, the only thing that has been added from the previous reports is under the strategic concepts of visions. And that's the creating of a 5-year strategic plan for the district, which is something I'm looking to try to have done by the end of this year, so the end of 2024, after we've gone through a bunch of our projects with the fire stations and kind of getting ourselves up to speed with the projects that we currently have set for ourselves, looking at what the next 5 years for the fire district look like, and basically creating a plan to move forward with those 5 years. That's the end of the chief's report.
Any questions for the
Would a
chief?
cat? No.
So
What?
they had a
Cat, yeah.
cat at
We
one
thought about
point,
that.
and I believe it caused more damage than it helped with.
Yeah.
So I don't, and I know there's a lot of concern, there's definitely concerns and opinions about mice abatement and how to properly do it. And from people who feel like things should be poisoned to live trapping to whatever. We just need to have find a solution that actually works and have it continually executed on, so that we just make sure that investment stays protected.
And
Yeah, right. Like we should just get some pet rattlesnakes and leave them out there.
I would just like to mention that an anonymous donor donated vanity mirror, towel holder, shower door, toilet.
The entirety of the bathroom.
Yeah, the entire bathroom has been donated. Yeah, exactly. Community organization reports, auxiliary, Dee Dee?
We don't really have anything. We've been supporting the firefighters in their training, their once a month trainings they're doing with food and their business meetings coming up. And we're always working on the pig roast, so all we have for now.
And the Grange, Miss Terry?
We have on March 4th, Together Jeffco outreach here at the Grange, 6:30 to 8:30. And other than that, that's all we've got going on for this month until the next meeting.
What is that about?
It's an outreach input for Together Jeffco. It's about the comprehensive Jefferson County plan. And so they go around to different communities to get input of many topics.
What portion of Jefferson County is doing this?
All of Jefferson County, and you can get.
That's not what I mean. What department within the county?
It's
Building in,
no, it's planning.
Planning and
And you
zoning?
can get on togetherjeffco.com and it has everything laid out, the different categories and goals.
you know the people who are putting it on?
There's multiple in there along with the group, so.
Is there any guiding hand person in charge?
I'm not aware of it. I think it's attorneys. I'm not quite sure. There's a study group that's coordinating the whole thing. So, but if you get on togetherjeffco.com, the categories are pretty extensive.
Are they seeking input from the community?
Yes, it's an outreach.
That's what that's
And this
for.
is for new fire regulation? What is it exactly?
No, it's not about fire regulations, so it's planning and zoning.
Did you say March 4th?
March 4th, 6:30 to 8:30.
Here.
Here.
All right. Moving on.
Just some comments, and then I have one thing that I forgot in addition.
Okay, go ahead.
Dave Katz, and I'm just gonna summarize, Dave. Sounds like we may have another avenue to go forward with Apple Maps and Google and Waze.
Okay.
So thank you, Dave, for that suggestion. And then the other thing for administration, we switched payroll providers at the beginning of this month. We were paying $80-something a month just to run payroll through through QuickBooks, and it was not compatible with FPPA, which was having problems with our Social Security tax and all the other things that was coming through that. So we actually moved it to a local payroll provider, and we were able to have a 50% savings in our payroll costs. That's the first of this month. So that's one other big thing that we changed. That's it.
Moving on, under old business, we had an item from Niffy. Since he is not present, we'll pass on that.
What was that?
Station 83 drainage.
And what was that about?
I don't know. It was Niffy just wanted kind of an update or what's gonna happen. 83 is scheduled for, for work, just like we're doing on 81 and 82, and it'll be addressed then, but 4.2 is information on radios and Firewise program, and that's Dave. You want to take one at a time? You asked you asked that be put on.
What?
When Dave talks, I'm gonna move this. Oh, sorry. No, it's okay. Yeah.
Well, the radios are up first. So last month, the Mr. Niffy made a big hoopla over the cost of those radios being new, but these were used radios. So the definition of $50,000 should have been not be enrolled into the. It should have been, these radios can be bought at a lot cheaper price when they're used.
These were donated. All of them.
Yes,
Can I add to that, Dave? When you-
yes,
was
would
the-
you like
you were-
that?
Sure.
You were asking about the value.
Values.
Okay.
First of all, thank you very much for getting those radios, Kyle. I mean, I know that Colorado State Patrol had them, they probably upgraded, but you were there and you got them, so that's great. Get us on the 800 megahertz repeaters, get us more in line with the rest of the county, so I do thank you. But I do want to say that after I looked at the APX 6,800 megahertz radios on eBay, they are available anywhere from $600 to $1,100 for used ones, refurbished. And they come with, chargers, extra batteries, extra antennas. And I did print this off because I found that what Nippy was saying was that they were worth anywhere between $5,000 and $10,000 each. And I just couldn't quite buy that. So I went home and researched it. And there's lots of single radios available, anywhere from $695 to $1,119. That's for a single radio. I imagine if you bought 25 used ones, if you could find them all at once, it'd be cheaper. But
But we didn't have to buy these at all.
I know you didn't, but
Okay.
still, I believe they were
It's the
misrepresented. The
value.
value was overly inflated to 125,000 to 250,000 as per NIFI last week or last month.
So the values that we've used, and because we have to do it for like the radio replacement, come from Radio Resource, which is our radio vendor. And there are $6,000 for the radio body from Radio Resource, but you're correct, it's new. And then $150 for the mic, $150 per battery, and $150 per.
Well, I'll just submit these to you. If you want to look, I mean, I'm not saying what they value them at Radio Resource, but the true market value, which is the true measure of value, what you can actually buy them for, is that. So, and I'm not positive it's the exact radio, but they're 800 megahertz and they're the APX 6000s.
Yeah.
They do have seems like a lot of options, and little variations to them.
Yeah, that's what I think we talked about. There's
Well-
all kinds.
But a lot of them have over 1,000 channels, they say, so that must be one of the top versions. Just wanted to make the point, I don't have to go any further than that. I just wanted to correct the fact that they are not $125,000 to $250,000 value.
Yeah,
Oh, on your face, it's a bug.
You're right in my eye.
Yeah, we're bugging you.
That's all, I have nothing more to say, but thanks for getting them.
Yeah.
25 is a lot, that's great.
You're actually at 40.
40 is
Yes.
more than me. Did you have something to say on the Firewise,
Yes.
Dave?
Did you have
Firewise
some question
program.
about Firewise.
We did a little research on that, and our insurance companies, not just one, but companies we have, they don't recognize the Firewise program. They only look for fire hydrants for a reduction in your fire. So that's another point.
Well, I think that's true, but there are some that do. And
Yes.
So,
There's more that don't. Believe me, I got more than one.
Okay, that's it?
And I also have, well, yeah, that's it for that. We're gonna go on to
Yeah, we're going on to new business.
the Forest Service one, the FWPP. Is that in here tonight?
Later
the
on.
annual report of the fire
The annual
district.
report from the fire district, is next.
So the annual report, as I have spoken about for a few meetings, essentially it's a summation of all the things we did last year, all of the chief's reports, but it's distilled down to something that can be mailed out to the community, so that we kind of can make sure that we're capturing communication, people who aren't online, who aren't on social media, who aren't coming to the meetings, but they're able to feel like they're part of the department and things are happening in the department. So it's a 6-page document. that is just distilled down. If you haven't seen it yet, we go through our mission, vision, values. Operational, a quick message for myself, just basically talking about the district, thanking the district, and all the support that we get from the district. And some of the accomplishments that we were able to make last year. The organizational chart, a breakdown of the amount of firefighters that we have in the fire district. A breakdown of calls, scripted hours, educational hours. A lot of this was in the last board or monthly board report from myself. And then we break down operations, call types, and some of the accomplishments that we made operationally last year. Training and support services with a list of all of the certifications that we have from all the firefighters in the district. And then contact information. And then the other thing that we included, and this is a QR code so that we can get more people onto the email list, so that people are getting more consistent updates from the fire district. So the ask that I have with the board of this is that we accept the annual report as written and approve the distribution to the mail.
Right. Anybody have any questions about the annual report? It was published on the website. It's very comprehensive as far as I'm concerned. So I'd like a motion to accept it and distribute it. I'll make that motion. Here a second.
I second it. The district needs to be informed about our accomplishments for the last year.
So any discussion on the motion?
Are we, what mailing list is going to be used?
So there, we can use the Jefferson County assessor, which is what the auxiliary is able, how the auxiliary is able to email or mail everybody within the district. And that the plan is to, so once it's accepted by the board and authorized for distribution, we will have the county assessors to mailing program where we basically send them a document, they're printed,
We only got
put it in envelopes and mail it to everybody.
was that annual report mailed out today with your report
It was, yes,
today?
I printed it out, it's right here.
I think I did
Well,
read it, but
no.
I'm not sure I
It wasn't
understand.
today, it was
So
yesterday.
so the email that had that report and then all the data,
It was very recent, right?
yeah, like it was Tuesday.
Do we get a little more time to digest that before we can just approve it being mailed out, district wide? I have to admit, I did read what you wrote, but I may not have read it to the degree I would have liked to, knowing it was going to be distributed district wide.
I mean, that, to me, that, there's no issue with that to me.
Wanna wait till next
That would be
meeting?
required at the next meeting before I could feel comfortable saying
Okay.
I had a change or a yay or an egg, because it's probably fine.
I will withdraw the motion.
Okay.
Okay. And
I
we'll
like that,
bring it
'cause
up
I-
at the next meeting.
I looked at it, but I didn't look at it that close.
6 pages, and I do have a copy if anybody wants a copy.
Well, I may have mixed them up between the chief's report and the annual report, because I read what you sent.
There's a lot that email.
Yeah.
It's a lot. But yeah, there's nothing to me about that. I think it's more eyes than others.
So do we have a motion to table that until next meeting?
Yes.
I second that
withdrew-
motion.
Well, I withdrew my motion,
Okay.
so it'll be on next month's agenda.
One heads up, I did, mention this to Susan Dentry, who was responsible for mailing out the auxiliaries donation request letter. And she has at least one and maybe more address corrections. You know, property that changed hands and it's now owned by a daughter in North Carolina and blah, blah. So,
I think
Yeah.
the intention was to kind of get guidance from Susan, because she
Okay.
was very familiar with this, on making sure that we were doing this efficiently.
Yeah. okay.
All right. Next up is Community Wildfire Protection Plan, where I have a resolution that was posted on the website. This is a discussion item, and I would like to take a minute to read Robert's Rules of Order. Point of order can be used by any board member if another board member is interrupting or off the agenda topic. The president will render an opinion. Agenda topics will have a maximum of 2 rounds of discussion. Round 1, each board member is allowed 10 minutes to discuss the topic. Round 2, if a board member participated in round 1, they are allowed an additional 10 minutes if other board members participated in round 1. Community members can raise their hands and be called on and allowed 1 minute to state an opinion or ask a clarifying question, limited to 1 time per agenda topic. What? That just, I'm getting to it. The president will answer the question or appoint a specific board member to answer within a 1 minute limit. Open community comments. Each community member can raise their hand and have 3 minutes to state their opinion, limited to 1 time. No rebuttals from any board member allowed on opinions or comments. Each community member can raise their hand and when called on will be allowed 1 minute to ask a clarifying question, limited to 1 time. So, let's go ahead. This is,
Can we read one comment into the minutes before we start? I read one comment into the minutes.
Sure.
One comment from online.
Oh, yeah.
From who?
For Dave Katz regarding Firewise, just want to say that USAA does recognize Firewise as an insurance.
Okay. Thank you, Dave. All right, this is listed for all board members. I'd like to start off by saying, I think the most recent piece of information about the need for the CWPP was the fact that residents cannot apply for grants for mitigation because our CWPP is so outdated. So that's, to me, is an overwhelming reason to go ahead and get an updated version.
Can I speak to that for a second? Yeah. So I was contacted about a week or a week and a half ago from a collection of residences on Robin Hill that are trying to go together on a large mitigation project. And as they were filling out their application for their grant, their CWPP update was, or a recent within the last 5 years, right? 5 years?
I'm not too sure what I do know that a CWPP is considered not up to date after 10 years.
So it would have been 10 years, 5 years. It was basically an exclusion where they couldn't apply for their grant. And there's quite a few homeowners that were trying to do this project together and they got stopped in the tracks. Which is unfortunate. That's all I have to say on that, unless there's anything else we need to go through.
Is the floor open for me to make some comments?
Yes.
Okay, now I think we're all on the same page here. Nobody here does not want a CWPP. We have 2 CWPPs. They cost considerable money, the first one. The second one was done by the county. They're very similar. I believe the first one is better than the second one. The second one has no substantial changes from the first one. It was done 10 years later. What I'm looking for is not to not have a CWPP or an up-to-date community wildfire protection plan. I'm looking to save the community money and be wise in what we do. I question the wisdom of spending $55,000 to $65,000 for what I'm not sure what a new CWPP is. When we already have, I mean, our topography has not changed. Our fuel loads haven't changed. The trees, the grasses, it's basically the same. What has changed up here is we have more traffic. We have some new construction, which we could easily find out how much it's been since 2011. The county would easily be able to say, yes, you've had a total of 35 or 40 building permits pulled. That's all easy to find out. Where it doesn't seem to me where like 55 to 65,000 is warranted, that somewhere, somehow we could shop this to get an update. Now, I don't know what an official update really involves. You have to be a certified CWPP person. Who is that?
Usually I think they're certified forester, somebody who has an or master's. degree.
So I feel like this could be updated for a lot less money than 55 to 65,000. And my concern is just not wasting money. I totally want everybody who wants a grant to have the documentation in place to get that grant, which is a CWPP that says 2024. I want that. I just don't want to, can't quite see $55,000 to $65,000 as cost.
So,
How many bids?
yeah, good question.
Well, there's only one company that does it from what we can
So, right.
see.
I went and talked to, or tried to shop it out, especially after we talked about that in the last meeting. First of all, I went and made sure, because Anchor Point, which was did the study that I know that you're talking about, that is.
I've checked them too. I know what you're gonna say.
Yeah, they're gone, which is unfortunate. They got absorbed by some other company and they don't even do it anymore.
There's gotta be more than one company that does this.
So I found two more that I reached out to. One is a larger environmental consulting firm that's based in Broomfield. They never even acknowledged my calls or emails to them. I think they base off of RFPs that are done by counties. And they're doing more like large scale county style CWPPs. That other was a smaller consultancy that's based in northern Colorado that had it listed that they could do CWPPs. I sent them our previous. And
Did you send both previous?
Yeah, we just sent the most recent one, which started being.
The previous, the one from 2003 is even better. Anchor Point did a great job.
I think it's to the point you've made, they're very similar. So we could send them that one, but I never heard back from them after I sent it to them. So we did try to solicit.
Then I might suggest, Kyle, that possibly the rules that are in place about the CWPP should be examined and considered, that maybe these rules are obsolete. If there's nobody who can do this without us spending way too much money, there has to be some consideration for that. Because what if there's nobody? What are we gonna do? Spend $1 million to do a CWPP? Where does this go? Where does it lead to?
And that's like, to be honest, the 55 when we first saw that, I was taken aback too. I was like, man, that's a huge amount of money. The reason I'll be honest with you, that I think that this is a good option for us to go forward with is that it is the same contractor, nonprofit contractor that all of our surrounding fire districts have used. And so is the county. So it essentially allows us to have a contiguous CWPP formatting methodology as our neighbors and our overarching county does. So we all kind of match together.
It's still $55,000 to $65,000.
Totally.
Alrighty.
I can't hear you.
It's in the budget. It's
It might
already
be,
in
it's
the
still-
budget.
You don't have to spend it if it's not in.
I
the
still feel it's
budget.
wasting
You
money.
don't have to spend.
this way. I feel like something could be negotiated. I feel like somehow somebody's getting way too much money for the work that's 90% done.
So when I went back after our previous conversation, our initial conversation on CWPP to Ember Alliance and said, hey, where can we cut the fat? And they cut a little bit off, and so the most recent bid is the one that's in the resolution. That's the lowest that they can come back at, period.
Well, I didn't see that price, so.
It's not very much.
Okay,
less.
so maybe we should talk to who's the new organization in the state that was organized for wildfire prevention? Is that what it's called?
Oh my goodness, you're talking about the state.
After the Reynolds Park fire, they pulled the Colorado State Forest Service away from doing what they called controlled burns. They changed the name to prescribed burns. And they organized because 4 people died in that fire.
Mhm.
And then they changed the name and they organized a new state agency to control prescribed burns. What's that called?
TFPC, Division of Fire Prevention Control.
There we go. Maybe they have a little bit of an insight here. Maybe they've got some people, or maybe they should open up a branch to help out the smaller districts.
I wish.
And maybe the rules are just not on par with what reality is.
I got the rows here for your study from the Forest Service. And Jeffco is making a master plan for the whole county. It can be used for an umbrella for our study. And I have the regulations from the Forest Service that all we have to do is follow.
I haven't to.
And good. Now maybe we can get somebody together that's need to get these grants, and then they can help write the study. Because it doesn't say you have to be a forester in here.
It doesn't say it has to be a forester?
No, says anybody can do it. Here it is.
I mean, just the methodology.
All you have to do-
Behind CWPPs, the modern CWPPs,
This was,
there's, in my opinion, there's a reason that even the big fire districts aren't trying to do them in-house.
and you just have to update the one we have and then write some new stuff.
I did clarify that
It's
as
too
well.
old.
So I did, because after that, because I thought that was a good point after our previous, and I went back to Emerald Lines to ask questions, if this is an update or a total rewrite, and if that had been brought up. So they said after if the 5 year, if you stay on the 5 year cycle of CWPP regeneration or updates, that's when it's an update. Over 10, they technically do a full rewrite, but ours is somewhere, because it hasn't changed fully, it's somewhere between a full update and a rewrite. The pricing, however, was congruent with an update, instead of a full rewrite.
Well, to me, this seems like the $50,000 toilet seat.
But you don't know what.
Toilet seat that the US government was buying for airplanes. It was a famous thing, you know, that there was this big waste of money when it could have been bought for cheaper. Somehow or another, somebody's worked themselves into a favorable position and they're getting a huge amount of money. There's not enough competition in this market. But maybe, have you ever considered, maybe we should give, instead of 55 to 65,000 to a private company, maybe that should be distributed for the fire mitigation. We might get more bang for the buck doing that. That's a lot of money.
I'd like to see us have more money for fire mitigation for sure.
I mean, there is you got this pile of money, where you spend it, you might get better results.
The grant that we applied for the,
They couldn't apply for it, which is great.
I don't know.
There hasn't been a number set on it.
It's like $2,000 or.
And I'd also like to say that the fire department can apply. I mean, this is all gonna be time consuming, but they can also apply for grants to update the CWPP. I haven't looked deeply into it, but I do, it is well advertised across.
Yep.
So, yeah.
So we did apply for one in the fall, trying to get for this cycle, and we were declined. So that was unfortunate.
And Jefferson County is doing a new update.
They're doing a
I
new,
just saw a thing on Facebook that Gilpin County is. So I'm wondering if we can select some sort of collaborate or, yeah.
So that's, again, so that's kind of how this conversation originally started last year, was when Jefferson County came to the fire district and said, hey, we're redoing our CWPP, we need all of your information. This is the contractor that we talked to, or to in between, which is Timber Alliance, the same one that we got a bid from. And the conversation that originally started is that if we need to redo our CWPP, can you use the same information that we're using from Jefferson County for the Golden Gate Fire Protection District CWPP? And that was included in their bidding process, that they would have a less duplication of effort on our side.
So that's incorporated in the Ember Alliance quote.
Yes.
Eric, did you wanna say something?
Two things. First off, we voted to put this in the budget because we need it for grants and for maintaining our good graces with the county and our neighbors. I think we need to do as much as they do in terms of updating our protection plans. Number two, it's in the budget. And one thing I would point out, and I believe, I'm not sure if this is the same grant proposal, but where we denied the grant for the CWPP because we have money, we have too much money in our accounts. And so they thought we didn't need it. Well, maybe we should spend some of that money on something that we need. One thing I would point out is that I received an email, and I it's an anonymous elector, but he went into the Jefferson County building permits that have been issued just for the last since 2017, sorry.
Is this the anonymous even?
Yes, you received the well, I'm sure anybody can go check on this. This is the number of building permits that have been
How do you
issued.
know it's a he? Or not?
I'm using he in the generic. I could say he, she, they, yeah,
I
they.
don't know, anonymous emails kind of,
They're,
Let her finish.
if you want me to check on it, I'll go into the Jefferson County building permits and check on it. But it says there have been 23 single-family dwellings permitted since beginning of 2017. And 34,
8 years, 7 years.
let's see, I can't read all this stuff. Yeah, anyway. And a bunch of additions, including remodels and non-residential buildings. So, 7 years, 24 houses.
not surprising.
Yeah,
There's Mr. Miller online has asked 2 questions of myself. I think is okay. The board can answer them.
Okay.
Okay. So Mr. Miller has asked, who is the consulting firm in Broomfield that didn't return my inquiries? And that is SWCA. They're a large multi-state consulting firm, environmental consulting firm. And then the other question was, does anyone know what the estimated cost would be to have a new CWPP created as compared to $5,000 update to the existing one? I did ask that question of Ember Alliance after I went back and said, I need you guys to come back at the absolute lowest you can. And they said for a brand new from scratch CWPP would be about double that cost. So over 100,000, so between 100 and 150,000.
Not like the mountains have changed
And
or the trees.
our bylaws request that we get 3 bids for anything, big expenditures.
Maybe it's
Whether-
possible. to-
I think it's going to be hard as finding somebody else who can do it.
That's where I say the rules about these grants and the CWPP don't seem to be in the same world. I'm not, that's a problem.
I think we need to get 2 more bids since we got 1 possibly.
He's trying.
That's all right.
You need help shopping for this, Kyle?
If we can find some more people that can find someone else to give us a bid, I would appreciate it.
I don't know exactly where to look, but over the next, I mean, I can't look right now, but over the next month or 3.
So that's, that,
Okay, well, that's a no, but that's, I know, I can't work that.
what I'm saying is, time is important here. There are people that are trying to get money to do mitigation and can't get grants.
Well, when you spend money quickly,
And it's going to
you might
take-
make mistakes.
It's gonna take time to get the CWPP completed.
Well, I may add that I've done all my own fire mitigation to the tune of like 30,000 and installed my own cisterns and pumps. And 2 10,000-gallon cisterns. I've got the only water parked out here and I keep it full. So some of us actually pay for our own aid around here. Just want to say,
Terry, did you want to say something, Patty, Terry, who had somebody there?
I just was curious, how long, once we pull the trigger with this one company?
can you come up here, Terry? We've had complaints that, people online can't hear. So,
How long? If we did go with this one company, for example,
Around 1 year.
a year? Oh, my,
Be from tip to tail.
okay. And then how, are you familiar with any other departments' costs of their CWPP? Kind of, you got a feel for what they're doing and cost wise?
A few, obviously the larger departments with more people, with larger population bases are significantly more. But I mean, it's all kind of in line with where we are. So I can't drop a specific number to you or a specific quote. But I will say again, they're all using the same contract. It's all Amber Alliance, which is a nonprofit that does CWPPs across the Western United States.
Can I add, all the other department or fire districts around here, we're the lowest by like a factor of 4 of our tax revenue. Timberline, I think, is second lowest. They get like $1 million a year. You go down into Fairmont, they get 35 million a year. You know, there's a lot of difference between our tax revenue and other districts.
I agree.
And was reading on another department here on the Front Range, and they said that you can apply for the grant, but you have a better chance of getting the grant if you have the CWPP up to date, but you can still apply and you may get it.
Or that, I mean, that I can't speak to, I think like Brian, who I know just helped apply for one, it sounded like it was a hard stop.
If you,
Yeah, that was the hard stuff. That was from the, you are correct. There are some grants. I mean, there's a plethora of grants that are available in this realm. The main one that's being offered that is kind of the expedited grant is through the national government. And that's I think it's Community Wildfire Protection Grant, something under that realm. Yes, there are multiple different grants and it depends. Most of them are looking for the updated CWPP.
but if you don't apply, you won't get it, right?
What's that?
If you don't apply, I know you won't get it.
Yeah,
So you have to apply to get a grant.
yes.
I'd like to add 2 things here. One is the ultimate goal is to make the place safer, right?
What?
The ultimate goal is to make safety higher, to raise safety. The grants do that. The CWPP does that. But we're in a particular situation where we don't have that quantity of revenue coming in from taxes as some of the bigger districts. And we're finding ourselves up against the wall with the people who do CWPPs. So maybe when we apply for grants, we could list these facts to be considered by those who approve grants, who might take it into consideration and say, well, maybe our rules are not in line with what these districts face. And the other thing is, just because we've got a lot of money, we have other needs. And because we're solvent, we shouldn't waste money. We have other needs, like possibly a third bay on a station number 1. You know, that's been something that's been talked about for a long time, but there's other needs that have gone unidentified, even with our little station right here. So I don't think that just because we have money, we should waste it, squander it.
Aaron, did you want to make a comment?
I just have a rhetorical question for y'all. If you were doing a big project on your house and you only got one bid because that's who your neighbor got a bid from and you couldn't find any other bids, would you just go ahead and pay that without getting another bid? I mean,
I would personally look for references for that one company. But feedback on that one company, I would that one company. And that's our situation here, I think.
see, there's 2 other companies that do it. It seems like maybe just as some additional follow-up. I mean, if you got another bid that was at least one other bid and it was $100,000, then okay, then you know, that's the best deal that you can get is 55,000, then so be it. But when you only get the one bid, you know, it seems like a lot of money for the document that you're gonna get. It seems like you're wasting our money.
Terry, did you want another comment?
I'm gonna comment now, if I could.
Who is this?
My name is Chris Creech.
Oh, go ahead, Chris.
Thank you. Just a couple of things. If this district had planned for a CWPP 12 years ago, they would have budgeted $4,500 per year. That's nothing in our budget. However, here we are today. And today we need to accept the bid for a CWPP for $55,000. That's the equivalent over 12 years. That was the last time our CWPP was completed. That's about $4,500 per year. So Our problem is that our previous boards for 12 years have not thought through this process. They easily could have said, let's just set aside $4,500 a year. And in 12 years, we'll do another CWPP. And we have to do this. We have to do it now, today, next year, 3 years from now. So this board needs to approve a CWPP. There's no doubt. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Terry, Patty, go ahead. You want to stand up?
Yeah. Engineer, definition here is insurance.
Can you go on to 6?
The one thing nobody is mentioning here is insurance. We have been canceled twice in the last 3 years. We have a full water system with 11,000 gallons of water in it, which is the only reason that one of the companies 2 years ago would cover us. I know we're not the only people canceled in the area. We are now paying $17,000 a year for insurance. I know we're not alone. I know we're not the only ones that have been canceled. I know that we're not the only ones that have had to take insurance that's considerably higher than what we've paid in the past. And I also swallow hard each fall, hoping that we can get either renewed or find another policy. We have even considered, what do we do if we can't get insurance? And our major investment in our lives that we're sitting in is vulnerable. Then what do we do? You can't sell it because nobody's going to buy a house that you can't get insurance for. So we're looking at, if we don't do things like the CWPP, if we don't do the mitigation, if we don't get this in this district, we're not going to have insurance. So we've got to stop screwing around. This was budgeted. I'm tired of putting things off and putting things off and putting things off. It's time that we start acting like a business that's covering the people in this district and stop screwing around.
May I add something? There's no guarantee that a CWPP is going to make anybody's insurance rates go down. That's conjecture.
Terry,
Kyle, could this affect your ISO?
CWPP.
Yes.
I can't honestly tell you if it does or not. I think ISO is more based off of structural capabilities of the fire department. But it may. I honestly cannot tell you definitively either way.
But it hasn't so far.
The ISO.
Right.
Well, we've had one in place,
Yeah, it hasn't changed it.
but it's been 10 years old now, so we're beyond that.
It's technically expired 2 years ago.
So it hasn't changed.
Last time I know ISO was visited was when Damien was chief, and there would have been, do you know, Steve, when that was? When did you guys redo the ISO? 5 years ago?
I was not on the board then.
It was approximately 5 years ago. And so, also, when is Jeffco's CWPP going to be completed?
At the end of this year.
Is there any way off of Steve's comments that we could piggyback on that and adopt that with a little bit of? I used to.
So that's where the kind of again how the original the conversation started is saying, what can we transfer from Jefferson County to ours?
Right.
To make it efficient, financially efficient and time efficient for our district and get our own CWPP. And that's what I don't know about them covering, essentially using Jeffco's CWPP to fully cover our district, because it doesn't dive down deep enough into our district and our specific needs, like our egress routes and things like that.
We did last time, Terry.
I know.
Rocco Snart
I
Snart and Judd Miller. And probably others, but those were two of the main people. They had Jeffco did a CWPP for our area.
And they adopted it, they put a resolution and kind of worked.
What's our most recent one, 2011, but to tell you the truth, the Anchor Point one's better.
But they didn't, they used a significant portion of the anchor point and then just.
It seemed to me like they copied it and didn't even word it as well, but it
They used all the
was
same
very
maps.
close. Very
Policy.
close.
Looks like a lot of the stuff is.
So summarizing, we're dealing with time, a limited amount of vendors to resource from. We're also dealing with neglect or mismanagement of the last 11 years of not planning for this. We're now affected the Firewise possible grants. I don't know. It's business. We need to pull the trigger on this, in my
But-
opinion.
But as you heard, even if we did vote it in, it takes a year
Yeah,
to get it completed.
yes.
So that's not really the solution.
But
It takes a year, but why are we gonna wait
So
another
the-
4 months?
The one thing that I think that we have found, I know when we talked about the Firewise application, is that they wanted us, if we had a contract, if the work was under contract, that they were gonna accept that as being appropriate, for a 1-year temporary Firewise. That was from them.
Yeah, but, yeah, we're beyond that point now.
Yeah.
All Firewise, so we'll wait till next year to refile, hopefully having the CWPP in place, or at least a contract with pending completion date in order for us to get Firewise next year. And I think that's important. Firewise it kind of legitimizes the community, all of its efforts that we've done over the years. It's kind of the cherry on the top with the CWPP. And I think it's a really important thing to continue.
Well, you know, if you're a real business gets multiple bids and really observes their expenses, because it's taxpayer money seems to often not follow those same rules as a real business.
And Mr. Green, you've heard about the CWPP for a long time. Have you offered any help to anybody on this
Let's
board?
correct what you just said, Chris.
Yeah,
The last
please do.
The last
12
CWPP.
years. 12 years ago, sir. Have
ahead.
you specifically
Yeah, hit the
asked
minute.
or researched or tried to get any alternative quotes? You're a board member. You're here tonight. Have you attempted
I think
to
you're wrong.
resolve
Chris.
your?
I don't think you know
wrong?
your dates. Yes.
Sir,
I
have
wasn't on the board before
have
you
you attempted to resolve your issue with us contracting a new CWPP? Have you?
Absolutely.
Okay, good. Share that with us. Thank you.
I've been involved with the CWPPs when I was on the board. I was off the board for many years.
Sir,
I was on the board.
direct question. Have you asked any
Have
other
you,
organization?
Chris, this isn't my responsibility solely. So you can try to say it, you can try to blame me, but that's not
Have
actually
you
factual. That's
sought
your.
Point of order.
additional
It's an
quotes?
argument between two people.
Okay,
Point of order.
That's it. We have another, question.
I got one more comment.
Wait, you have a comment?
Yes, I do.
Okay, well, we also have a person in the audience that wants to make a statement.
All right, who's first?
I'm gonna call him Paul.
Pat.
Pat, sorry.
Yeah, Pat Searcy.
Yes.
I was
Pat.
just curious, I should know this as a active, community member. Does the CCWP affect our Firewise level to her great point about insurance? And to Steve's point, would we be in danger of not having a good Firewise rating and affecting the communicators?
So Firewise is a designation, not necessarily a rating.
ISO is great.
So yeah, ISO is insurance service rating. The Firewise, we cannot be a Firewise designated. We applied for our Firewise designation and they came back and said no.
Because of our
Because of the CWP.
Yep. Okay. So that's
They,
another reason we need to get going.
yes. As far as ISO, that question had been asked, which is the ISO rating, like when you get from your insurance company that they see what the rating is for the fire district. That I don't know if the CWPP affects it or not. I think it's mostly based off of structural capability. So structural firefighting, not wildland firefighting.
And I like his question that was hypothetical, but it is accurate. Would we go with just one bid or get 3 or 4 or 5? I think it's a good idea to shop around. But
Yeah.
it takes time.
Thank
There's
you.
only 2 vendors.
Yeah, there's like 2 vendors.
That's the hard part is.
They've only got one bid.
Yeah.
So it should be nice to see the bid from the other vendor.
Yeah. And then one last thing to Chris's point, Chris Creech. Steve has only been on the board for about a year. And this topic has not been a constant topic in communication. So for him to jump on Steve for something that hasn't even been discussed until the
Okay.
last couple of months is
Thank you, Pat.
kind of out of line.
Thank
Sorry,
you.
Chris, but I disagree with you.
Thank you. Dave, you had a comment.
Yeah, I want to point out the fact that your insurance companies are pulling out of the Front Range area because they want to reduce their exposures, increase their profits. Just like in Florida, they're pulling out of Florida because of the hurricanes. Because they don't want to have to pay out all that money when the hurricanes come in and flatten everything. So they're doing a business, they're pulling out because of profit.
The Hill falls into that too, because
Good.
I've had many canceled, not just Golden Gate, Golden, because of the hail.
And the Marshall Fire,
Right.
which has nothing to do with our wildland area. That's a suburban area. It's very difficult to predict what insurance companies are going to do. Except by profit.
But we should take every advantage to legitimize this district so that we have these opportunities. Thank you.
Well, that's where I say we should find out the real requirements for what it takes to update a CWPP. Dave says it does not take and I haven't read this, Dave, and I can't right now, but I think there may be an option to update it. I didn't hear you, Mary.
I sent out that document and 2 others to the board.
Today?
No, a week ago.
I'll have to, sorry, I missed.
One is,
Well, my point is that we just need to find out if there is an alternative.
one is from the EPA, one was from some National Firefighting Association. I can't remember the title, but they're all I think the oldest one is that one, the one from the Colorado State Forest Service. The other 2 are in the last 2 years. And they all have long lists of guidelines and formats for CWPPs. So we have the information we need. We just need to do it. However, we cannot do it tonight. Clearly, because even if we push the motion forward, it would be 2-2. I'm pretty sure. And therefore, I move to table this discussion until we have a full board present.
And I second that.
And
Give us
hopefully we will
time
get
to-
more bids.
Yes,
Yes,
I'll call the motion. All in favor of tabling? The motion,
Aye.
aye,
I,
okay, it's tabled.
And how long is this table? How long are we gonna wait to get another bid? 6 months?
Let's,
Next
no,
month?
no, no. no.
Table till next month?
Table until next month or until such a time we could call a special meeting. With another bid, at least another bid. All right. Plowing at Station 83, that's you, Dave?
yeah, the plowing at 83 with snow plowing was being taken care of by a good Samaritan. And then all of a sudden I seen in the budget that we got starting to pay somebody to do it. And they didn't even let the person know about that.
So we're currently, it's still being done by a volunteer.
It was being done by a volunteer.
It's still being done.
And then I seen in the budget that they had on January last
Are you
year,
talking the agenda or the budget?
Hmm?
Are you,
the snow plow. I see all of a sudden someone was getting paid to plow Station 83.
Where is that? I'm not familiar.
Where
I
is
thought
it?
it was a line item.
It's in, it's in a line item right in the budget. Didn't you read the
Okay,
budget?
but that doesn't mean that they're getting paid.
So I think, Dave, if you, when we went through and did the line by line budget.
Yeah.
When we sat there and went through it, we said that there was somebody who was, excuse me, I split myself with this. Somebody who was doing it for free, but we were gonna continue to allocate that in case that person stopped
That's what
doing it. So it's allocated, but it's not being, that's not being spent.
Yeah.
We just wanted to make sure, because we didn't want to rely on that service being continual as I remember
It
that.
was written in there that it was allocated out, emergency snowplow service.
Yeah, so when we went through this, because
That was
we had a conversation about it. About when we talked about, because we talked about removing it, because there was zeros when we looked in the previous budgets. It wasn't coming out or being spent. But we decided to leave it in case we needed to pay for it.
Okay.
I understand your concern
Yeah.
that it was a volunteer and now there seems to be a payment
It's in
set up,
case,
but it
yeah.
hasn't been being used.
In case the volunteer
I
breaks a
understand.
leg.
Truck breaks
I
down,
understand.
You know.
Yeah.
Hence the term emergency.
There you go.
Thank
Okay. We are at almost going on 8:30. I'm going to postpone 6.4, which is the resolution.
Why?
Why?
Will be time sensitive. And we've got an executive session at the end of this meeting.
I think 6.4 should go forward.
Okay,
Yeah.
go for it.
Yeah.
I brought this simply because, Steve,
Read the title, please.
I'm sorry,
I thought you might read the title. What's 6.4?
it's a resolution to censure Steve Green for using board member identification in a private email.
There you go.
This was passed out to the board. It's on the website. You've been cautioned about this before. When you send out a personal email that has nothing to do with district business and sign it as a board member, it creates a violation of our bylaws, which confuses people
I did
as
agree.
to, okay, well, of course you do. You did it. But that's why we've got this censure listed.
But I disagree because the bylaws state different than what you said.
I'm gonna read you what the bylaws say. Okay. A director must not identify him or herself in a way that would create confusion with respect to whether the opinion is personal or that of the district.
Okay. Am I out of line by
Yeah.
trying to comment? Okay. I do have a comment.
That's straight from the bylaws.
There's more to it than that.
There's more to it. I
Okay.
left some stuff out.
Well,
Yeah, I'll-
a director may not expend more than $50, blah, blah, blah. But that's the issue right there.
What was left
Create a
out?
con-
Pat, you might have it, and I don't have it right in front of me.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, there's a lot more to it than that. It does say, and just like you just now did, it has been falsely stated that the fire board rules prohibit a member from identifying themselves as a board member when they are making personal comments. On pages 14 and 15 of the bylaws, under the heading, "A director may engage in the following limited actions," it states, quote, "A director may express a personal opinion on any issue, regardless of whether his or her opinion was solicited. When expressing a personal opinion, the director shall make it clear that the opinion is a personal opinion and not the opinion of the district." At the end of the email to Terry from Steve, Steve wrote in bold underlined letters, "This above note is from me and not anybody else." He made it clear that it wasn't from the
But then
board.
he
So
signed
you're
it.
trying to censor him for something he didn't do wrong.
But,
How did he sign
Pat,
it?
but then he signed it
Signed
as
it,
Golden
yes.
Gate Fire Protection District Board member.
He said-
He didn't
still
need to do
said-
that.
He
He
still
didn't,
has the out.
he shouldn't have done that.
Well, I guess you're splitting here.
No,
He made
I
it
hear
clear
you.
that It wasn't from the board.
I hear you.
And the reason for the rule of not signing as a board member is to save the confusion. He eliminated that confusion by saying it's from him
But
and
then-
not from you or
then
Nippy
one-
or
Why did he sign a Golden Gate Fire Protection?
Because I am
District
elected to
board
that
member?
position by 116 people in
And
this
it creates
district.
confusion.
No, it
It
doesn't.
was a personal
No, it doesn't.
email.
No, it doesn't.
It had no,
Confused.
no,
It was,
Sherry was confused.
It had no-
Board.
excuse
It-
me, it had nothing to do with district business. It was a personal,
No,
it didn't.
of it was referring to the snow plowing, and he clearly stated it was a note on the paragraph above. He went down and said the above note, he referred to it. The fact that he sent it to the national range, the state range, a lot of, it was
Okay.
just pure harassment, and he misused the GGFPD board title. And he has had a history of that. That's why he's been censored 4 times before. That's why we've had a lot of other issues with him, misrepresenting his stance in this community on personal opinions.
okay, this problem is between the Grange and Steve. It's not, but it's not to do anything with the board. This is
Right.
not a board action. This is not anything to do with the fire department.
Then
This is
Mr.
an
Green should not have
between-
signed his
there.
name
Oh,
as a board member, sir.
No,
It is a board,
this
it's
is
now a board
This is a
issue.
Grange problem, not a board problem.
Not
So
any
they
longer
need to
when
take it up
he
with the
signed.
Grange, not here at the board meeting. And don't interrupt me.
Well, go ahead, Dave. I'm sorry.
Just make the point that Mr. Searcy just read the statements from the, would you read from?
Bylaws.
The statements in the bylaws are so a board member can send out something and sign it as a board member, as long as he states it's a personal opinion. If, I mean, that's why it's in there,
That was
so
my
you
point.
can send it out
The key
as
is
the board member.
creating confusion.
Well,
It wasn't a
not-
district, Steve, it wasn't anything to do with district business.
Oh, yes, it was. Now, I
No,
need a
it
chance to
wasn't.
talk.
If he states a personal opinion, like the bylaws say, then you can send it out as the elected official. I think that's why it's in there.
And
That's my interpretation of what's being
May I-
discussed.
May I say a little bit more about this? About
Go
the
ahead,
email?
Pat.
We'll get up here so that I can be here now. You know, granted, Steve said a lot of nasty things about Terry, that were his personal opinions.
Yes.
Whether that was good or bad, I'm not here to judge that. But the first part of the email was all about how Terry kicked out Janet and Dave from the pancake breakfast.
And how
Because-
harassed,
Excuse me,
You're interrupting back there. Point of order.
my apologies.
the reason she did that was because she was upset that they were supporting Steve when Steve.
Point of order.
Fine, let him finish.
She just has nothing.
Uh,
Finish.
It seems to me that the Grange is part of the district.
Yes.
The Grange welcomed people in here for pancake breakfast for more than 20 years. And Dave and Janet volunteered to cook for those breakfasts for those 20 years. They missed a few times here and there. But my point is that it helped raise money for the fire department, for the district.
No.
No.
They got it for the Grange.
Pancake breakfast never raised money for the fire department.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
Lost
what I've done. But what I didn't understand is that Terry has a prominent position in Grange. She gets to speak at great length during these meetings. And so it seems like she is in a position of, she could have some criticism from the public because she's a public figure as the president of the Grange. Am I correct on that? So I think as a community member, I did not disagree with Steve that Terry should not have kicked Janet and Dave out of here because they've been doing a great job. She claimed that two people had gotten sick from their cooking. In over 20 years, nobody has ever complained about their cooking. Not even Terry complained about it. And she even called the police up here for a scene that she created.
Thank you, Pat.
The whole
Your
thing
time.
is-
Okay, let me clarify. I need to clarify something. All Terry wanted to do was bring in the food. That was the issue.
The issue at hand is should Steve be censored for
But I'm
violation
answering
of the
Pat.
bylaws?
Thank you,
And
Dave.
Pat read the bylaws, and now the board has to decide, is that a violation or not? That's, I mean, I like pancakes too, but I don't know what that has to do with should Steve be censored.
Thank you. I don't either.
One more thing.
Wait, one more, Terry, one more thing.
That was Janet.
Just so for the record, they had quit. I have the email. They said.
No,
"We-
don't
we-
This is a great problem. Get it out of here.
Let her talk. Who wrote this censure? Who's the author of this censure?
What's the wording of the two?
Well, I think it has Deb's name on it.
Yes, I submitted.
I don't know who wrote it, but
I
Deb's got
submitted
Deb's
it.
name on it.
It's a resolution.
Find out about this email.
I
It
was,
should be forwarded to you.
Well, I might have copied it.
I.
Terry might have.
It was forwarded all
it was
over the neighborhood.
forwarded to everyone.
No, not everyone.
Okay, let's stop right.
I'm not done.
Okay, wait, Terry, Dee Dee,
No, let Jan.
Janet, go ahead.
Okay, somebody forwarded the
Yes.
personal email
Right,
of Terry all around the district. you said?
yes.
Why would they do that? Why did they get these fights started?
That's a rhetorical question, right?
Right,
No, it's a good question.
Well, it has no answer.
yeah.
I have,
Dee Dee,
we are talking about censorship of him signing an email. If there's not a board vote because there's not a panel up here, the Grange and anything else, this has nothing to do with what your item 6.4 is. Now, make a decision, move on, because you're just, the Grange thing has nothing to do with whether you signed it
okay,
or you didn't sign it.
okay, I'm
We
gonna,
have to go back and look at the bylaws and see if you say, here, I'm gonna say all this crap and sign it as a resident, but then I'm gonna sign it as a board member. You say however, but erases everything you priorly said. So maybe look at your bylaw wording and table it till next month and figure it out.
Well, next month, want to talk about this again?
Next month.
okay. A motion to table,
No, motion to vote on it.
I call the question.
okay. The motion is to accept the resolution to censure Steve Green for using board member identification in a private email. I have a second.
Do we have a discussion?
We've already had.
No, I didn't get a
discussion.
chance to discuss it.
Okay,
I
Yeah,
kept,
you got 3 minutes.
oh, you make the rules.
10.
yeah.
I have
Please.
10. So anyway, it was not private.
Motion and a
This was
second.
not a private thing to start with. This all goes back to the chief selection committee.
Oh, Steve, that's off.
It's true.
Off topic. Okay.
It's
No,
true.
It's off topic. It's the agenda topic.
Who wants to hear it?
No, you talk to Steve after. You talk to Steve after. We are on the agenda topic 6.4, a motion. A motion is on the floor with a second, and
And
I'm gonna
Steve
call
has-
the vote.
And Steve has the floor. Let him finish.
But he
Point
has
of
to, he
order.
has to talk
Point of
about the
order,
item.
quit banging that thing.
It
Point
is
of
the
order
I'm
to
gonna
you.
bang
Let
you
him
in a
finish.
minute.
Go right
He
ahead.
has to stay on the topic
I
of the
hope you
censure.
would.
Is the topic.
The censure
This
is
is
the
the
topic.
topic.
Robert.
The letter, okay, once again, you won't let me speak.
What do you want to say, Steve? Go ahead.
Then shut up and let
Go
him
ahead.
talk.
Go ahead.
This all goes to the point of the chief selection committee, which I was excluded from. And the official transcription of the recordings clearly showed that, which you
You
wouldn't
were
listen
not
to.
excluded. You were asked
And
if you
thus,
wanted to be on it.
Terry was at the meeting talking about this stuff. This is how it all started. She was lobbying people like people in this room, I won't name names, 2 people in this room are being lobbied by Terry, who was saying, I chose not to be on that committee. That was never true, and the transcription showed it. And this has mushroomed and snowballed into what we have now.
Okay, are you finished? I'm calling the motion.
I think Pat has something he wants to say.
Go ahead, Pat, one more time.
And the reason Steve's saying this is that, again, I have to get here to be sure everybody's hearing. There's a history of this, that Steve's right, it goes back, all the way back to the decision on hiring a new fire chief. What happened was, some of the board members decided to say that Steve did not want to be included. I was at the meetings.
I
don't
was
sit
at the
there and
meeting
shake your
too,
head.
Pat. I was at the meeting too.
I listened to every board meeting, and a board member say that they said Steve did not want.
What does that have to do with this item?
I'm sorry, I thought I was able to speak without being interrupted.
Go ahead. I won't
Point of order.
I'm sorry, I apologize.
Read your rules again about.
I apologize. Go ahead, please. We have a motion on the floor.
Yes. It was said during board meetings that Steve didn't want to be involved in the hiring process. That was not true. Now, everybody knows how important this board is to Steve. And he rightfully wants to be involved in every discussion involving the fire board. So it seems implausible that he wouldn't want to be involved in that very important issue. Who would really believe that Steve Green would back away from that issue of wanting to be involved in the fire department, fire chief, right? So the narrative was passed out and receptive minds soaked it up. That led to Terry deciding to go on a campaign to repeat that narrative. I was sitting right in that room during a pancake breakfast about 4 feet away from Terry, as she told Sam Windland that Steve did not want to be involved in the hiring process of the chief. Moments later, Fire Board President Deb Curley entered the pancake breakfast and joined in on the scuttlebutt with Terry. She purposely ensured that her back was turned towards me and my wife so that we could not hear what Deb was saying to Mr. Whiteman. Her body language said everything. Deb did not make it clear, or did Deb make it clear to Sam that her opinion was her personal opinion and not the opinion of the district? Is that unbecoming of a fire board president? And why is she not being censured? That action by Terry and Deb is a major reason why the developments have led to the situation that we find ourselves in tonight on what you just talked about. The actions led Steve to call Terry out in a letter. Instead of admitting that she was gossip mongering, Terry stood in front of the board and read a long statement about how aggrieved she felt from Steve's letter. Steve replied that Terry ought to read his letter out loud to everybody listening so that they can all hear what Steve actually said. Terry refused. If I remember correctly, Steve also asked to read the letter out loud, but he was rebuffed in a lecturing manner by Chris Creech while Deb Curley pounded her gavel. So the invention that Steve did not want to be involved in the hiring process for a fire chief was simply being unchallenged. He pressed Terry to be honest. Terry's husband, Bobby, rose to her defense by threatening Steve with bodily harm. He had to be physically forced from the meeting while Larry yelling at Steve that he would be waiting for him outside the parking lot. That led to Steve pressing charges against Bobby, filing a restraining order. The restraining order was denied by the Jefferson County judge. Dave Primer and Janet supported Steve in the court case. Terry was upset by that, and in a rage, she evicted Dave and Janet from the pancake breakfast.
I don't mean to
And they were no
interrupt.
longer welcome in the grave. So that's why this all led to Steve sending an email, which was a nasty email, but that's where it all started. It was way back when the lie was started that Steve didn't want to be part of the hiring process. Thank you very much.
Thank you. There's a motion on the floor in a second. I'll call the motion. All in favor of the resolution, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All against?
Nay,
Nay.
Okay, 2 for, 2 against, the resolution is, does not pass. 6.5 is job description for Chris Creech. This is you, Dave. Have at it.
yep, he's doing the books for the district. Even though Niffy's supposed to be the treasurer, Chris is doing all that work for him, so we need to get an accurate job description written out for Chris Creek.
Okay,
I would like to add that it seems that Chris Creech was a major, if not the primary, contributor to the 2024 budget.
he was a consultant on the budget,
Well-
but Dave Primer, Kyle and Niffy were the budget committee.
I understand that, but it seems like the major, well, maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, was the major portion was written by Chris and designated by Chris, but
There's,
I stand to, I'm open.
The budget was redlined and created by me. And then Chris, as the bookkeeper, came through and helped me create the final or the original product that we brought to the meetings for the budget committee meetings, and then move forward. But the decisions that everything that went into the budget, that was all me going through the initial budget and redlining and changing, trying to make it more efficient. That was
So
not
the
Chris Creech.
461,000 was a summation of all the budget line items added together, created by you, Kyle?
You talking about the capital spending plus all the tax revenue for operations?
You realize I'm asking you, you were the person who asked for the 461 or 64,000 total budget?
For the
2024?
That was the proposed budget that we brought to the budget committee, that the budget committee went through and again redlined again and then agreed on as a
And who
group.
was that budget committee?
Me, Dave, and
Thank you.
Nick. And Chris Creech did serve as a consultant, putting it together as we went through it.
Because he was a former treasurer.
As the book, no, not even as a former treasurer. And I hate to correct you, Deb, on this, as the bookkeeper.
Dave, I can get you a job description. Of the
yeah, we're gonna
bookkeeping-
need to
the
get that
bookkeeping.
into our bylaws, because with this situation, we gotta have it covered. Otherwise,
So
you're
you want a
liable.
job description for the bookkeeper?
Yes, I
Correct.
do.
The
Yep,
volunteer bookkeeper, and I'll make sure you get that, okay?
yeah. Well,
Right.
he volunteers is the same as that an employee.
Okay, I'll get it to you. The next regular board meeting is March 28th at 7 PM here. We have an executive session planned, so anybody that wants to leave, the executive session will be held in the next room. We will close this meeting.
Excuse me, did we forget public comment?
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, we've had a lot of it, but
We're cutting it
Yes,
short.
so,
Yeah, okay, public comment. You're absolutely right. I was overwhelmed with public comment, so I guess I just overlooked it.
I don't know that that was public comment. I think that was line item agenda discussion.
Okay,
I'm just saying, I don't know that I have anything. I'm just making sure that we cover public comment.
public comment. Anybody on any topic?
it has the numbers on in there.
I do.
Um,
I still think you need a sergeant at arms.
I'm sorry, what?
I still think you need a sergeant at arms.
Doing what?
A sergeant at
Oh, a
arms.
sergeant at arms. No, this wasn't, this was fine. This was fine. I want a free exchange. I really do.
No, to keep everything fair and everybody in line. It was better tonight because Nikki wasn't here yelling 50 times. Point of order.
Right, I know.
It was better.
Yeah, he and I had a discussion. All right.
I'm sorry if I got a little loud,
Pat,
but,
as I've always told you, I appreciate your input.
well,
Okay?
honesty means a lot to me, and when I see things that seem, it looks like there's, what's the word I'm looking for?
Bias?
Well, it looks like there's a story that's going on. My personality just.
We're working
I have a
on that.
personality that really hates when that kind of stuff happens.
I know. We're working
Trying
on
to
it.
save the world from that.
We're working on it, okay?
We're trying to-
Trust me, we're trying.
Maybe
We are trying. And we need your input, Janet. We need to hear it and we need help.
Mine will
Okay.
take quick fast.
Okay.
I have to agree. I thank everyone for being in here, but, you know, it seems like there's some targets, but I like the fact that there's opposition because it does bring
That's-
everything to a higher standard.
How can you improve if you don't know what to improve?
But I
And
do
that's my
think
personal-
everyone truly, it's, you guys do well, but I just encourage more.
It's really-
Kind of like what you're saying, just
Yeah.
more working together and honesty and not agenda pushing.
Yeah, I think families, families that are not dysfunctional don't hide truths. And truth is a killer.
I don't know.
But falsehood is a killer.
Yeah.
So I don't think we need any more of that.
I move to adjourn. On second,
Second.
all in favor?
All right,
Oh, and the next meeting should be listed in the minutes.
are we doing an executive session tonight?
Yes.
Is that, how long will that take approximately?
That depends on how much you want to talk. I beg you, it's listed on there. It's March the 28th, 7 p.m.
Oh, mine.